PowerPoint or whatever, or slides, or any of those Google tools, wherein we have not done anything in the system per se. Maybe we'll be showing certain things in the system, but during the realize phase, we build the system. What I mean by building the system is we do the configurations, tweaking is done, and if there are any certain programs that are required to be developed, that is developed in the realize phase. Just to give you another piece of information, if you are creating a non-standard code or creating an additional code in SAP, to identify that this is a non-standard code, what we do is we call it as Z or Z or Y. Most commonly, the program is called as Z, and we technically call it a Z code or a non-standard code. Okay, Z, that is Z. The way you pronounce it is left to you. Nobody says it as Z code, it is Z code. Okay, those coding is done, and then when you do something non-standard, you will have to test it. Multiple testings are done here. When I say multiple testing, one is unit testing, wherein I explained earlier also, a finance guy does only the finance testing. The materials guy does only the materials testing, like he'll create a purchase order and release it. Okay, and then he will create a goods inward and he will just check it whether it is all working fine. That's it. Then comes the integration testing. It is here. Please excuse me, I can complete my coffee in those 10 minutes. Okay, so in the integration testing, what happens is everybody sits in one common place. They define the document, the flow that was there in the explore phase. They bring it up, and then they start creating one after other documents. Whichever is the starting point, they start creating the initial documents, and as they keep creating those documents, the end-to-end process is seen whether it is working fine. An example, I create a purchase order for 10,000 rupees, and the vendor gives in the goods inward for, let's say, 10 products. The goods inward should be only for 10 products. It should not accept 11th product. Or if you want to say that 11th product can also be accepted but should be kept aside. Now, these are things that you decide in the explore phase and put it in the realize phase and test it. All these testings are done. And then what they also do is they run an end-to-end P&L, whether all the numbers are coming okay. They'll check whether the inventory that is there in the system and the inventory that is showing in the P&L is the same. So all these things are done. Then they come out with a training strategy and methodology. Now, what is training strategy? How do we train the end users? How do I train them? Where are they located? Now, typically in an organization is not having resources only in one place. There can be in multiple locations, many times multiple countries. Like recently we did a project in Kuwait. Half the people are in Kuwait, some people are in Kuwait, some people were in Saudi, and some people were in India. Now, how do we train them? Is online training okay? Should we have a physical training? All those strategies are worked out and a detailed methodology and a plan is drawn and it is rolled out. Now, the training is rolled out only after the integration testing is completed. Now, there again, there are multiple types of training, whether we do train the trainer approach or we directly do the end user training. Typically, it is a train the trainer because the organization would like to retain the knowledge of training so that they can train at a later date themselves. So typically, it is train the trainer. So we train their trainers and then they in turn go and train each and every end user. Okay, and in case of like a classic example I can give you was about my implementations in a place called Mayer. Mayer is a place in Madhya Pradesh which had Mayer Cements. Of course, it was a part of BK Birla Group, which has now been taken over by the Aditya Birla Group, and then the brands have changed. But those days it used to be Mayer Cement. Now Mayer had that group had 4 plants, one in Raipur, one in Maharashtra, one in Mayer, and one I don't recollect where it was. Okay, there were totally 4 plants. Now, for the production people, we had to do training in each of these places. Raipur, I think Amravati, I don't recollect where it was in Maharashtra. The whole project site was in Mayer. Okay, and the challenge was not about the production people because we know it is only 4 locations. I can send a production planning, production guy, materials person there, and we can train them. And a finance guy also, not a problem at all. But the real challenge came in when we had to train the frontline sales guys. They had totally 200 plus depots. How do we train those 200? Even assuming there are 2 people in one depot to be trained, 500 people, how do we train them? And it was train the trainer approach, but they wanted us to help them in terms of their logistics, in terms of how do we plan the logistics, how do we group them, what sort of training has to be given. And the initial few training, they expected us to supervise, saying we have trained a set of trainers. Are they training the end user properly? See, ultimately, in an SAP implementation, the success of the project is in the way the end user uses it. Okay, so for that, an end user has to be well trained. Now, for that, it was a real challenge for us. So for bringing in 500 people into 10 different locations, having 10 different people, this had to be done in the period of 2 weeks. 10 different locations, getting everybody there. And the problem with the sales guy being pulled out of the team is, they have their targets, their incentives, everything gets hampered. So for all these, managing all these across in the project, any methodology you use, there is something called a change manager or change management. Change manager is the person who manages the change within the organization by also planning various workshops and trainings. Okay, and it also can involve so many small things like creating a project name, popularizing the name of the project so that everybody is aware such a project is coming, etc. Okay, and with this, we come to the end of the explore phase wherein we have trained the trainers, we have everything in the system, we have tested the system, it's all fine, it's good. We are now ready to move the system to the production or go live with the new system. Now, what are the things that are required before we go live? Number one, of course, we need to set up operations. Now, for us to, what do you mean by setting up operations? We need to have a set of people who can maintain the system, who can run the system and support the users. Okay, and while moving this, also, there is a concept called Kotor, which I will speak in the next few minutes. After having completed the integration testing, after having trained the people, we call the key users and ask them to test. Okay, the key users come and test, and then this is something called user acceptance test. Now, fine, UAT as it's called. They say, good, it's all good to go. The system is ready. We have tested. We as users confirm that it is working the way we want, and then we proceed to the next. Next is the organizational preparedness for going live. Now, what does this mean? This is a very, very important phase. This phase on the next cutover part of it is a system will give you will be very effective and give you good reports or good value only if you put in the right data. So there is something called GIGO. I'm sure you would have heard of it. Garbage in is garbage out. Okay. Now, if there is a product, let's say I'll take this water bottle. Okay, and a company selling this water bottle for 10 rupees. The system should be told it is 10 rupees and the GST on this is 18%. So the ultimate selling price is 11 rupees 80 paise. The system will calculate that, but we should inform the system. We should configure that in the system correctly. Instead of calling it as a water bottle, you just say water. Okay, this I think is half a liter. Instead of half liter, you say 5 liters. Okay, and then you say I'm selling it at 10 rupees. This is a mess that we are creating within the system. So what is known as master data is very, very important. Lots of importance has to be given for master data. So what we do in SAP projects is in the prepare phase itself, or in the, sorry, not in the prepare phase, in the realize phase itself, we give the templates for collecting master data and pushing it into the system. Some portion of master data is taken in, and while during the integration testing, we actually use this data so that we also know the quality of the data. Plus, we are also using live data for testing. Okay. Now it's all over, data is in place, organization is ready to go in. Now comes the cutover. Now, what do you mean by cutover? There is no point in time of a running organization wherein there is 0 open purchase orders, there is no payment pending, no receivables, no payables. It cannot be like that. There will be some receivables, there will be some payables, there will be some open orders, there will be some inventory stock that you have, there will be something in WIP, and all those things has to be captured on a particular date. Let's say, so typically if you see SAP Go Live happens in the first week of any month. So what they do is they take the last day of the month and take a cut over. This freeze the system, and then they take whatever has been closed as of 30th or 31st of that month, the end of the month, the first day or the second day of the month, because typically you need 1 or 2 days for various closures. You close accounts, close that, close this. Then you start with the news. You take the data as a cutover data and then push it into the system. There, if the number of purchase orders are very low, let's say 10 open purchase orders are there, people manually create it on the new system. Otherwise, there is an upload that we push in, data upload happens. Once that is there, you just go in and check whether it is all okay. That is known as cutover. We have done the cutover, we have completed the end user training. Then comes the phase or the gate. We call it as a gate, go, no go. Okay, whether we can go live or not go live now. There are a set of parameters that we check. There is a steering committee that sits, and that steering committee will now finally take a call. Yes, we can go live now. on a particular day that is well defined. Typically, it is a small event that is organized. The top man or the most senior person from the organization comes in. Most of the go lives I have seen they will be creating a sale order. So it will be put on a big screen. The MD or the chairman or the company is creating a sale order. It gets printed and then they hand it over to him. And that's one way of telling the world and the various people within the organization that look, we have moved into a new system. Okay, now we have moved into the new system. How do we ensure it runs smoothly? How do we safeguard it? We need to ensure, as I told you, the success of SAP implementation and SAP as a product is in the way the users use it. So initially, we have first 1 month we call it as hypercare for users, wherein all sorts of support is given: voice support, video support, that support, the support. It's all taken care so that the people who are using it use it comfortably. Then new users get added. Now comes the challenge in this phase. The real challenge in this phase is what happens. See, I have trained a set of end users. Okay, it doesn't mean they are there in the organization till eternity. New people come, old people go. So how do we ensure that new people get trained continuously? When I add new users, how do I train them? And then not only that, there are various changes that keep coming in. GST was 5%, now it is 18%. Earlier, if people would be knowing, there used to be something called excise duty, basic excise duty, special excise duty, VAT, mod VAT. And then in Mumbai, I know there used to be something called octroi. Okay, then you had sales tax, then central sales tax, CST used to be 4%, KGST, Karnataka government sales tax used to be 8%. All those things were there and they kept changing. Now it is all unified as GST, thank God, but even GST keeps changing. Yesterday it was 18%, now the government has made it, let's say 12%. So those things will have to keep adding. Another thing that also happens while using a system is when you're using a system, you think, okay, fine, yeah, this process is not required at all. Why don't we change it? These are known as continuous improvements that keep happening within the system. Overall, in the Activate methodology, we started with discovering whether you need this product, SAP. Then we prepared, we explored how it has to be done. We documented that. Then we realized it. Then we tested it. We deployed it into a server. It can be a cloud server or a physical server in your premise. Then we moved the data that is required. Then we are now at the run phase, that is maintenance phase. So this is the end-to-end methodology that is there in SAP Activate. To recap what I spoke, first is discover, where it's an experience trial. It can be HANA, it can be a simple on-prem, or it can be a cloud. In case of new implementation, you do a fit gap analysis. We understand the scope and we configure it. We migrate, integrate it, check it out. We deploy it, and then we run that. In case of an old system moving into the new system, there is a challenge. The challenge is we have developed certain programs. Will those new old programs, which is run on an old platform and old technology and old programming language, will it work in S4HANA? So SAP gives you a tool that tells what portion of those old programs you have existing that can be reused directly, what changes has to be done. There can be some program which doesn't run at all. There can be certain business processes that are totally obsolete. It doesn't exist anymore in the new system. Those things are identified initially during the explore phase. Then you have a conversion and cutover. We then finally integrate as usual. We do the integration testing, and then end user training, onboard and deploy. And then the last phases are just the same. We operate and monitor with support. So whether you are doing a system conversion or whether you're doing a new implementation, immediately after going live, hypercare is mandatory so that everybody is comfortably using the system. Any issues, any challenges are immediately responded upon. Okay, so I'll just quickly run through all the slides what I spoke. Okay, and then I will tell you what. Then I'm going to open the floor for questions. I repeated the cost of repetition. I'll be doing it in the next 5 minutes. All the slides. This is not a part of the original content, and it's an add-on that we are giving so that you get a practical view of SAP and SAP implementation. It is an additional information and practical knowledge sharing session. Okay, and we spoke about how SAP grew from a simple mainframe application to what it is today, what we call as digital core with HANA, and why did this evolution happen, and what was the difference between the old system and the new system was all explained initially. Of course, if you see here, The old screen was this. The system access you will get will be what you see in the left. I repeat, the system access you get will be what you get in the left, because that is where you need to learn. So for learning a car, you should always learn not with an automatic gears. You should learn with manual gears. So automatic is easy for you. If you straight away learn an automatic and you switch to a manual car, it's going to be very difficult. You will not know. There is something called a concept called clutch. You will have to use the clutch to change gears. Those things you will never know. And you don't need that on automatic gears. Hence, what happens is you need not bother about it. Okay. So you will be learning, or though the backend would be HANA, but you will be having these screens. And then you also have the new screens to the right, wherein everything is the same screen across in all the content access. Whether you're accessing the content on a laptop, computer, tab, mobile, the access would be the same, and the concept was brought in through Fiori. Then I talked about 3 scenarios of moving into S4 HANA. And then I talked about why a methodology is required. Do we need a methodology? Yes. Why do we need a methodology? And then what are the various phases in that methodology? We spoke about discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, and run. A discover is basically before you even decide on whether you want to buy SAP S/4HANA or not. How does it help? It helps you in cutting down the cost and in an incremental approach, and reduces the risk of going big bang. Then these are the various phases. We got into the details of each of these. We saw what we do in a project scenario, what all we do during each of these phases. We prepare for the project, we plan out, and we have a sign off. Then I also use a term called phase closure sign off. We move to the next phase, explore. There is also a fit gap analysis, that is all done. Then comes the realize phase. It is here where people get hands-on into SAP system. Till now, they're just seeing the system, but here they get into the hands-on of the system. They configure the system, they do various testings, and after all the testing and the training is completed, we deploy it into their production system. Then no go meeting happens. Once the decision is go, that is going ahead with going live, you move to the new system. The cutover also I explained earlier. Then typically it happens on the 4th or the 5th of the month, any month. They don't go in the middle of the month, because then what happens is the cutover data becomes more messy. So the cutover happens on the last day of the month, 2 days for various closures. Move in that old data, the cutover data, into the new system. That takes another 2 days. 4th or the 5th of the month, you go live. There is a backlog of those 4 or 5 days. There is a strategy and plan also. What we call as cutover strategy that is prepared, where what and how will the systems be run during those 4 days when the system is not available for end users. Okay. Then we also spoke about the various differences between while an old system is getting converted and when a new system is getting implemented. So this was what I wanted to speak to you on Activate methodology. Okay, what I did today was talk about S/4HANA, the journey of S/4HANA, and Activate methodology. Now I leave the floor open for any questions. I'll take a short sip of water and then I'll answer your questions. Okay, what are the questions? Yeah. So there's one new question. What is this? So what is application lifecycle management? Okay. Application lifecycle management is a typical software term or an IT term, which talks about a comprehensive process that manages the entire life cycle of a software. Okay, right from initial idea, development, testing, etc. So that is known as application lifecycle management. Any other questions? Okay, there's a new question that is brought up. Sir, can we add this course in our resume as are trained in SAP? Will I get some certificate? Yes, You will get a certificate of having participated in the SAP Power User course from SAP and ICMAI, provided you clear the assessment that will be conducted whenever the institute tells us to conduct. There will be an assessment that will be conducted, and that is an MCQ. 50 is the pass mark, 50%. So definitely, yes, you will get a certificate. So how data from non-SAP applications transfer to S/4HANA? Okay, it's a very wide question, I should say. Now, what happens is in case of non-SAP application is, what is this application? We need to do a detailed study about what is this application about and what is the purpose of it being not in SAP. An example I can tell you is you have the biometrics attendance system. Okay, data is collected in some server. Now that has to move into SAP for your payroll. Now, how do I move that? Now, in that case, what we do is we create a template about how we need the data and give it to the other software, and then pull data from that software in this particular template and push it into the SAP system. There are various programs that run that ensures that such data can be moved in from non-SAP to the SAP system. Just a second. There's one more question. Just a minute. Let me just. Okay. Sorry for that. What is the starting point if I want to make a career in SAP as an SAP consultant? Okay. See, the starting point, what is the process of becoming an SAP consultant? Okay, I think both are Rushek Modi and somebody anonymous is the same question. One is, what do you mean by SAP career and an SAP consultant? Okay. In SAP, there are multiple roles. So you should understand, you should be clear about which role you want to get into. Then I can guide you as to how you proceed further with each of these roles. Firstly, you can become an end user of SAP. In any large organization, hundreds of organizations are there which has SAP, you can be an end user. Now, for you to become an end user, this particular training is going to be very, very helpful. Okay, this is for end user. Now you want to say, no, I want to be an SAP consultant like Balaji. Balaji's talked about consultancy. Yes, this is what you have learned today is around 20-30%. There's another 70% of specifics that you need to learn about SAP. That is what we call as global certification. Okay, SAP Global Certification is available in the open market. It's an expensive course, 3-4 lakhs or whatever, and the certification per se itself is a very tough certification that you will have to go through. It is an online proctored certification that you'll have to take. Like typically, like the way I'm sitting in front of a laptop, there is you will have to sit with your camera on. It has to be on. You'll have to show the whole room. There's a process. You'll have to complete the course. In the process of completion, there will be various tasks which you'll have to complete. Once you've completed all the tasks, and then you can go schedule an exam. When you schedule this exam, you'll have to, like the way I'm showing the camera, you'll have to show the whole room, and they will say where you will have to place yourself. Like if this background is okay, then they will release the link for you to take an examination. That is a global certificate, SAP Global Certification. Once they release the link for SAP Global Certification, here it is what it again depends. 90 minutes, 90 questions, and something like that. MCQ mostly, fairly not so easy. 180. I think it's 3 hours for 90 questions. 70% or 65%, depending upon which module it is the pass mark. And on submission, immediately you'll get to know whether you're certified. And within 24 hours, you get a badge, which is that you're globally certified. Now, once you're globally certified, it's a passport. Like for that matter, large organizations in USA will not provide access to SAP unless you are a certified consultant. They will not even provide access. Even if you get a job, you're not allowed to do the job just because you have been placed there. No, You will have to be SAP certified for you to get a role there or to work there to get access into the system. So that will be helpful. That is the consultant part. Now, after being like the process, the way I grew in my career was first I started, of course, I had a good domain experience of sales and marketing. And then I moved into those days it was called as SD, sales and distribution. And then it became I moved into this one. I also learned various other modules on the way. Then I became a project lead, then a project manager and program director. Then I was the head of SAP practice in Wipro. Then moved in as head of program director or SAP practice, etc. That's the growth career path that you have for any individual within SAP. It's how data is transferred from non-SAP. I think I've already answered that. We pick up, there is a template, there are various methods of pushing it into the system. So there are various tools that are there. Are there any internal control to set to make sure data is properly transferred and avoid manipulation, and how is it done? Okay, that's an excellent question. Firstly, it's not just about data transfer. It's about properly transferred. Yeah. See what happens when SAP system is, or any system, let's not use the word SAP. Any IT system, any application anybody is using can easily be tampered. It is what some database. Somebody can go into the database, make 100 into 1000. Like you want to give me 100 rupees, I'll go and make the data change into 1000 rupees and I get 1000 rupees. It's so simple, correct? But there are very strong internal controls. Now, the way internal controls are put in while data transfer happens is that, let's go just a second. The way internal controls are put in the data transfer happens is that there are the template defines what is the data that will be moved in. Okay, if for example there is a limit of a person whose limit is 1 crore, he cannot move in more than 1 crore. That is 1 crore, 1 rupee. The system will not take. There are various other internal controls that happen that are put in. It is many times defined within the template. Many times it is different is provided in the program, and that is where the quality person comes into picture. Who does the quality check, and they do the checks whether the internal controls are all well in place. Okay, what interview questions can we expect based on SAP? That's a very open-ended question. I don't think I'll be able to answer this question simply because it all depends on what interview it is, whether you're going in for a power user course or a consultant course, etc. Whatever this question, you just Google, there are hundreds of answers for this. So I will not be able to provide a straight answer for this. But having said that, you have Google and you can straight away check that out. Okay, time is 3:42. Okay, any other questions based on what I shared today? Of course, before I wind up, tomorrow onwards, it is again same Mr. Nagaraj who will continue with this session. I just had requested for one session of his today so that we speak about, give some inputs on practical aspects of the SAP. Now, what you're going to learn, what you're going to have hands-on will be limited to finance, but here I spoke more about, gently about the project management, implementation methodology, etc. Any questions? I'll wait till 3:45. If there aren't any questions, we wind up for the day. MCQ exams after completion of this SAP HANA course. Yes, MCQ exams, when it would be conducted, I will not be the right person to answer. Whenever institute wants us to conduct, we will conduct. I think that would be somewhere from the first week of August. That is my guess. So this is not an official response. Is working experience in Oracle helpful in SAP? Are they similar? Okay. Working experience in Oracle is definitely helpful. I'm not saying no to it because the business, you will understand the terms of business processes and SOD, SOX and all that. But the screens are different, the tabs are different. So you need to really unlearn and learn a lot in case of SAP. Law regulations does not play an external force to activate methodology. No, law and regulation does not play an external factor to activate methodology, because it is only trying to tell you what and how to do things. Okay, it's only saying that how to do things. There is no way that it's going to say that you'll have to do it this way. And tomorrow, me and in my organization, we decide we will not use activate methodology. No problems. You can go with any method. Okay, there is I mean, the change in a law, a change in regulation will definitely change the way we configure the system, but that will not change the methodology. Like tomorrow GST goes away and PST comes in, okay? Something else comes in. Government of India says zero tax for every Indian citizen. Let's assume, let's dream of it. Nothing wrong in dreaming. No GST from tomorrow, all made zero. Now, in that case, we'll have to only configure that in the system. That doesn't change the methodology per se. So law and regulation does not play as an external factor to activate methodology. But yes, law and regulations will play a very important role when I'm using this methodology when I'm doing a project. When I'm realizing, when I'm designing my system, I'll have to use all that. So it's 46. I'll wait for 2 more minutes. If there aren't any questions, we'll wind up for the day. Is there any deadline to complete SAP enable module? The module assessment and MCQ are different. Okay, module assessments are different. MCQ assessments are definitely different. When would that happen? As I said, as I just spoke a few minutes back, we will wait for the institute to ask us to change it. So we'll definitely inform you by email when the assessment is. Okay. How can I watch that? They will answer. You will get it. The recordings will be there. How can I will be a SAP FICO consultant? Okay. There's no more FICO consultant. Now it is management accounting consultant for you guys. CMAs would be management accounting consultants. The best way is now that you're crossed 20% of your training, 30%, this is the balance 70%, you can go for global certification. When you do SAP global certification, you can become a SAP management consultant. Okay, any other questions? Thank you. So is it necessary to have knowledge of earlier version of SAP to learn? Okay, it's a good question. Do I need to know SAP old version to know S4HANA? Okay, see, the question is that you don't need to know you need to know what is, see, you're all finance guys. Okay, let me put it this way. You're all finance guys. You should understand what is there in finance, what is business process, how it is done in SAP. Now, whether it is on an older version, newer version, the screens will change. So that's why I said you please use the other screens. Don't go for Fiori screens. I hope you don't have access to Fiori screens. I hope so. Okay. The screen should be the old screen so that you really get to know how to navigate the system, and that is good enough. S4HANA is something that happens in the backend. Backend becomes faster and also applications become faster. You don't worry about it. Now, all through the training session today and whatever Mr. Nagaraj took, none of the sessions we talk about tables like VBAP, Mara table, MAKT, or Kunana. These terms you will never use. Now, these are all the backend tables. Now, that has become AC Docker and Mat Docker. You need not worry about it right now. Now, later on, you will definitely be getting to know about all these. Okay. So will the module be available for us after the course completion? Yes. There's a particular period, 6 months, it will be available for you. Sir, can we get BI data analytics course as well? Will be useful for a career old registration students? Definitely, yes. We can do that. How can we practice SAP? Is there a trial version or education version for students? No, there is no education version for students for SAP, or there is a trial version. It is not there. But right now you will have access for a month. So you will get access for a month. You can practice there only. Another question. Can we get BI data analytics? Oh, yes, we can plan it out. It all depends on what institutes wants us to do. We can definitely do it. We do various data analytics courses also. So any more questions? So I would, before I wind up the questions, do share your views about how it was. As I said, this particular session was actually a value add that we are trying to bring in. Hope your 2 hours of time that we spent together was worth it. Do share your views on the chat. And as I said, tomorrow onwards, it will be Mr. Nagaraj will be continuing with the sessions. Any more questions? I'll wait for another minute or so. 5, 4, 3. Thank you for this insightful session. Thank you. Thanks. That was the whole intention, Kajal. How to access that license which you're talking of? I really didn't get your question, Mohit. There's no license that I spoke of. One last minute, 52, 53. I stop sharing. Stop sharing now.
Thank you, sir, for today's wonderful session, and thank you, students, to attend the session. And soon we will wind up the session, and we will meet you tomorrow for the next session at 11 o'clock. Stay tuned.